Good afternoon, everyone. This is Kosala, also known as Marventus, here on my character Marvina, once again giving you an insight into the Chloromancer. Now, in my previous video, if you saw it, if you didn't, there will be a link on the video here somewhere, I covered my unusual healing tree choice for the Chloromancer, and now I'm going to get into my DPS spec. Now, keeping in mind that I did not go DPS to actually DPS until I was like level 19, because I tried out a whole bunch of souls and simply didn't like any of them. And I wound up picking a DPS spec that is in line with the kind of DPS that I actually want to play. And the reason for that is because A, I don't like pets because I can't be bothered to micromanage them, and B, I want to be able to do a pretty serious amount of damage, but I don't want to be without the ability to heal myself when necessary, because I am in general a healer as my favorite class, so even when I DPS I feel a little odd if I'm not able to heal myself in some way. So I have got myself this highly unusual DPS spec, unusual meaning I haven't seen anybody else with it. So a main spec I picked was the Warlock. And the reason I picked the Warlock is because it does a huge amount of single target damage and also pretty decent AoE damage, and does so without needing to have a pet, and it gives you some nice crowd control abilities. And my secondary soul choice was the Dominator, because I just think it rules as a soul choice in general. Nice CCing abilities, great buffs to int, and overall a very, very nice partner. I had all kinds of things here before, everything from, let's see which I had. I tried Pyromancer, tried Elementalist, I tried Stormcaller, I tried Necromancer, didn't like any of them, and went right back to Dominator. Now the real curious thing is my choice of third soul. I actually went once again with the Chloromancer, and I only did it to get this one base ability, Radiant Spores, because it has a 15% chance to heal you for the damage, for 100% of the damage that you do. Now that might not sound like a lot, but I can't count the amount of times this puppy has saved my ass. It's just good to have when you're out there soloing. Now I use this spec for soloing and PvP. So let's get into the nitty-gritty details. Let's starting with the Dominator. Main reason to get it is Transmogrify, hold on. Transmogrify is right down here. Transmogrify, which is your crowd control, turn mob into a squirrel spell. Excellent spell, very, very nice to have. Along with that, you instantly get this Neural Prod, which is an instant cast damage spell, which again is pretty nice. Once you've gotten that, you also want to get the Clinging Form, which increases the duration of your CC abilities, and also reduces the ability to resist it. And then you need to get this Quick Thinking one as well, which gives you a buff to the speed of your next spell you cast after getting your CC out onto the mob. And the reason you want to do this is because in a multi-mob situation that you're pulling, you will CC one of the mobs, and the first thing that's going to happen when that happens is that something is going to charge you. So you want to get that next attack spell out quickly. And then up here, Acumen, I'm planning to buff that 5/5 at the very least. And then whether I go beyond that, I'm not really totally sure, but I'm certainly going to get that maxed out in order to maximize my intelligence, which is one of my core skills as a mage. And as a result of that, you also get a couple of spells down here. Reflective Command automatically reflects a hostile spell coming at you within 10 seconds. And Mana Wrench, which you actually don't need, because this spec gives you, due to the Warlock, gives you absolutely no downtime, and I'll show you why in just a second. This additional spell, Thunderblast, is an instant cast knockback, which also is actually fairly useful. I don't use that a lot. In fact, I don't think it's even on my toolbar, is it? No, actually, I hardly ever use it at all, so I didn't even bother getting that onto the toolbar. But a very, very nice sort of secondary role to have. But let's focus on the main shebang, the Warlock. What a fun DPS class to play. I've had no trouble pulling 3, sometimes 4 mobs of the same level and still managing to survive. Although occasionally I have to sit and wonder how the hell I managed to do it. You know, I would occasionally finish battles with like 2 or 3 HP remaining. But hey, that's the excitement of the entire thing, isn't it? First of all, your staple, Life Leech. Absolutely rock on dot. You want to get that on nice and early. And then you also want to get the buff that comes with it, which is this lingering pain. It gives you a Void Bolt, 100% chance to refresh the duration of life leech on the enemy, which is excellent because your main DPS spell is indeed improved Void Bolt. So you get the Void Bolt, you get the improved Void Bolt, and you're hammering away. And this is an outstanding DPS spell. In fact, as far as I can see, it is the most damage dealing single DPS spell in the game. Absolutely excellent. I only put 1 point here in Magical Affinity, because it actually is good to have an improvement on the charge your spells generate, because my replenishment spells that I use up charge. But I've actually never seen that the charge accumulates slowly. I have generally no problem maxing out charge, so I didn't put more than 1 point in there. This one I went a little back and forth on Nedra's Torture, to be honest. It's a very, very nice dot. It increases all magical damage taken by 3%, which is awesome, for 20 seconds, and then it deals 29 to 31 damage. I'm glad I'm glad I decided to get it. Sorry about the cough there. I'm glad I decided to get it because it's an absolutely epic dot, and that closing finishing 29 to 31 is just massive. And when I pull an average mob of my, like a sidekick mob like those mages have in the form of skeletons, those skeleton sidekicks, if I dump a Life Leech and a Nedra's Torture and a Dark Touch on them, the dot will actually kill them completely. You don't need to cast a single spell. You can simply dot the ad and then focus down the mage. So for most, I tend to find most equal level mobs that are sidekicks of other mobs. All you need is a Nedra's Torture, a Life Leech, and a Dark Touch, and it will simply die over time. And you can focus down something else, which is just too cool. Now, Dark Armor I got as well. It is my standard self buff that I walk around with. Very, very, very useful. And then also Draining Bolt. It actually does not do as much health return as I would like, but again, in a tight spot, it's just very good to have. So I grabbed that as well. Now, Nedra's Influence increases the damage dealt by your dots by 15%, plus an additional 0.6 for each point you spend in the Warlock Soul. I mean, that's just epic. It's a must-have thing. I'm now talking about the maxed out version of this, of course. I also got 1 point in Vitality to increase my maximum health, but to be honest, my health is actually doing reasonably well. I do envision that I'll be putting a few more points in there because, you know, you can never have too much health. But 1 was really sufficient for me as far as leveling is concerned, keeping in mind I'm in the mid-20s now. On the tier above, Potency increases critical hit chance. Obviously, I maxed that out as early as possible, and I'm now maxing out the spell damage as well in Dark Power. And after that, I think I will continue to move onwards until I get to Nedra's Essence, which turns you into a Leech. Oh, no, my bad. That was something else. That could have been the Necromancer. Actually, this one turns you in. It reduces incoming damage by 80% for 7 seconds. Another excellent little spell to have when you're pulling AoE mobs. Sorry about that mistake. I had my Necromancer tree here before, hence the confusion. Right, yeah, but there we are. My current spec on the on the Warlock side. But down here in the roots, all of this has brought about some very interesting abilities that make soloing much easier. Your 2 replenishment abilities, Sacrifice Life, Mana, and Reconstruct, are absolutely essential. After every single fight, you will have some health remaining. Use Sacrifice Life Mana a couple of times, converts your health to mana, instantly buffing your mana. Your charge will be maxed out anyway, so hit the Reconstruct button and you'll immediately go up to full health, and then you're ready to roll. No drinking, no downtime. Absolutely excellent stuff. Right, in this spec at this level, I have 0 downtime. I just kill mobs, replenish, kill mobs, replenish, and so on. And then Nedra's Might you eventually want to get, because this is a nice group buff when you are DPSing in groups. So that's a nice one to have as well. Oh, you don't need to get it, it will come automatically when you put the points up here. Now, Mortality and Devouring Shadows are your 2 AoE damage spells. Actually pretty damn wonderful. Devouring Shadows does quite a large amount of damage, and in situations, for example, when you're taking on rifts and you have a tank who's doing a decent job of tanking the non-elites, you can easily dump a Devouring Shadows on there and you're good to go. And in the event that you manage to pull aggro and those non-elite mobs come charging at you, pop your mortality, it dumps a huge vortex of darkness around you, causing a massive amount of damage, and then also healing you for 100% of the damage done, which is just absolutely excellent. And this has come in super handy for me in rift situations where I've done exactly this thing I've told you about right now, where a tank was busily tanking away. I dumped my devouring shadows on a pool of non-elites, caught aggro. They rushed at me with like half health, some 7-8 mobs at a time, and I just popped mortality and sat there and watched them die while I just crept right back up to full health. Absolutely excellent. And in PvP situations, the Wither and the Fear come in very handy. Actually, even in PvE situations, the Fear comes in very handy. If you're in a multi-mob attack situation and one of the mobs and you're getting hit too hard too quickly, just fear one, focus down the one that's remaining, take on the one that's left afterwards, or fear and reconstruct in mid-battle to regain health, because you will have accumulated charge at that point. Absolutely excellent. I found that in this DPS spec, I don't recall actually dying on any situation other than in rifts. And I've had no problem pulling 2 or 3 mobs at a time and just dishing out the damage. Absolutely excellent spec. As somebody requested, excellent for me that is. As somebody requested, I will indeed post the links to these these soul combinations and talent tree choices later on. But in the meantime, of course, everybody who's got different specs, feel free to comment below. Agree, disagree, like, dislike, and comment as indeed one should do on YouTube. Get a discussion going. I was really happy with the discussion that got going on the Chloromancer healing spec. Gave me a whole bunch of new ideas and thoughts. So let's do the same again here. I hope you enjoyed it, fellas and girls. I will see you all next time. Bye-bye.